and welcome back to Echo. Now, this last week of our half term, our weekly theme, our weekly prayer theme is Encounter. Now, the word encounter means a meeting that we didn't expect, a meeting that we weren't anticipating, that we didn't plan for. And constantly we hear this word when we're talking about our faith and our relationship with Jesus, that everything he does is an encounter. He does things we aren't expecting. He works in ways we never quite planned for. He's a God of surprises and loves to surprise each and every one of us. Now, before we get into our activity and our reflection for this week, I want you to listen to one of my favourite readings from the Gospels. Now, this is taken from Luke's Gospel. It's right at the end. Jesus has already died. Jesus has already come back to life, spoiler alert, and he goes on a bit of a journey. Two of his disciples can't believe that Jesus is alive again. They're so overcome with grief that their friend has died. Even when someone comes to tell them that Jesus is alive, they just can't believe it. And all they're thinking about right now is, we need to get out of here because the people who killed Jesus might come and get us. So they leave the city of Jerusalem. They leave the place where Jesus died. They leave the rest of the disciples, the rest of Jesus' friends. And they start walking away towards a village called Emmaus. And Jesus walks along the road with them. But they don't recognize him. They don't realize it's Jesus. Have a listen to this story. And have a look at this encounter that Jesus had, something that these two disciples weren't expecting and they weren't ready for, they weren't planning for. But Jesus constantly surprises us and turns up in times and in places where we least expect him to. So have a listen to the road to Emmaus. The road to Emmaus. On the same day, two of Jesus' followers were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were talking to each other about all the things that had happened. As they spoke, Jesus himself drew near and walked alongside them. They saw him, but somehow they did not recognize him. And Jesus said to them, "What are you talking about as you walk along?" They stood still with sad faces. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only person in all of Jerusalem who doesn't know the things that have been happening here these last few days?" Jesus asked him, "What things?" "The things that happened to Jesus of Nazareth," they answered. "This man was a prophet and was considered by God and by all the people to be powerful in everything he did and said. Our chief priests and rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and he was crucified. And we had hoped that he would be the one who was going to set Israel free. Besides all that, this is now the 3rd day since it happened. Some of the women of our group surprised us. They went down at dawn to the tomb, but could not find his body. And they came back saying they had seen a vision of angels who told them that he is alive. Some of our group went down to the tomb and found it exactly as the women had said, but they did not see him." Then Jesus said to them, "How foolish are you? How slow you are to believe everything the prophets have said. Was it not necessary for the Messiah to suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" And Jesus explained to them what was said about himself in all the scriptures, beginning with the books of Moses and the writings of all the prophets. As they came near to the village to which they were going, Jesus acted as if he was going on further. But they held him back, saying, "Stay with us, the day is almost over, and it's getting dark." So he went in and stayed with them. He sat down to eat, took the bread, said the blessing, broke the bread, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they finally recognized him. But at that moment he disappeared from their sight. And they said to each other, "Wasn't it like a fire burning in us when he spoke to us on the road and explained the scriptures to us?" They got up at once and ran back to Jerusalem, where they found the 11 disciples gathered together with the others, saying, "The Lord is risen indeed. He has appeared to us." Then the two explained to them what had happened on the road and how they had recognized their Lord at the breaking of the bread. In that story, we heard Jesus talk to his disciples and meet them where they were. They were scared, they were confused, they didn't quite know what to make of the whole situation. It's a lot like what's happening to us right now. Lots of people are scared and confused and don't know what's about to happen. Even tomorrow or in an hour, things could change and anything could happen in our world today. And that's how these disciples felt, constantly a little bit on edge. That's why they were trying to get away from the situation, to walk away from this confusion and this madness. And Jesus meets them on the road and he teaches them, he talks to them. He recants all of the stories that he once told to them, explains to them how Jesus dying and coming back to life fulfills all the prophecies from the first parts of the Bible. And they're so filled with awe and wonder, they're like, well, let's stay with this guy as long as we can. Like, we're stopping now for some dinner, but he has to come with us. And it's that moment, isn't it, when he's breaking the bread and just something in their head clicks. It's like, hang on, I've seen this before. I remember this from the last time we were together with Jesus, sat around that table in the upper room, having our Last Supper. And no sooner had they recognized him than he was gone. And it was incredible, wasn't it? Didn't our hearts burn within us as he spoke to us on the road? Because that's what Jesus does. He meets us on our journeys. Our journeys through life are constantly dotted with different encounters of Jesus. And often we don't realize until the moment's already gone. When we're in that moment, we just are so overwhelmed with how happy we are or how at peace we feel that we forget that Jesus is probably here right now. And no sooner do we recognize that he's there, the moment's done, and we're now looking at it as a memory. There's a word that we use sometimes in our faith in the church called pilgrimage. Now, pilgrimage is a holy journey. It's a journey of self-discovery, self-worth, self-reflection, looking at where I am and where God is and trying to bridge a bit of a gap there, to try and connect the two parts together. And lots of people go on lots of different pilgrimages. You might have heard of places such as Lourdes and the Vatican and Walsingham, places all over the world that people gather to because it's a holy place, a place where something special has happened. People every year go on pilgrimages to Jerusalem, the city where Jesus died, to feel closer to Jesus. Now, often we believe that the most important part of the pilgrimage isn't the destination, but the journey. It's funny how this story is called the road to Emmaus, because all the action happened before they got to the end. When we think of our journeys and when we're going on holiday and stuff, we kind of wish the journey would be over and done with. You know, those really long car rides, those really long ferry rides, those really long flights, just taking hours and hours and hours and constantly saying to the driver, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Oh, come on, we must be there now. Are we there yet? and we don't quite appreciate the journey. But the journey is the most important part. The journey is the key. That's where Jesus meets us. That's where we have those encounters. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to start our own pilgrimage. We're going to start our journey. Now, there's a fabulous pilgrimage that actually takes a really long time, and it's called the Camino. Now, Camino is a Spanish word that just means way. And what it is people go to the bottom of France and they walk across the top of Spain to a place called Santiago de Compostela on the northwest coast of Spain. Now this, if people do it properly, they walk and it takes them months, like absolutely ages, just to spend a day or two in Santiago. But the important thing about this journey is just that, the journey. And what these people do, these pilgrims, these people on pilgrimages, they stop in certain places and they pray and they talk with people around them. You'll often find that some people walk alone purely so they can meet lots of different groups. People from all over the world, and share their stories and share their faith with other people around them. And they have a special passport, a pilgrim's passport. Now, anyone who's been on holiday will know when you go through passport control, the first thing you get when you get to your destination is you get a stamp to say, yes, you have arrived, you are here, and you have been here. A constant reminder that this is where I've been. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our own pilgrimage with our own pilgrim's passport. Now we're starting today, because today is all about encounter and all about allowing Jesus to meet us in those unexpected places. So for now, our pilgrimage is going to take us up to Christmas, up to the end of term, just before the Christmas holidays. And inside we have a box for every single week and every weekly prayer theme. And what we'll do is we'll create ourselves some sort of stamp. We'll draw a picture that marks that we have been here. We've done our encounter week. We've done our worship week. We've done our saints week. We've done our hope week. And then on each stamp, on each section, there's a question that I'd like you guys to answer. Now, we will be getting other activities during these weeks as well, but this is just something to start us off. So every week we're going to fill in our pilgrim's passport. Now we can write or we can draw, it's completely up to you guys, but I want it full of answers to these questions. So for this week, because it's Encounter, our question is, where have I seen God this week? So look around, think back through your week and what have been those brilliant moments when you thought, actually, you know what? God was in those moments. When I was feeling sad and that person came and cheered me up, that was God working in that moment. That was Jesus working in that person. When I was really struggling with this piece of work and my brother or my sister or my mum or my dad came and helped me with my homework, that was Jesus working through that moment. When I most needed him, he was there. And maybe, when I'm just really happy because things are happening, because we're having fun and we're playing a game or we're spending time together as a family, that was Jesus in that moment. So our first week encounter, let's look for Jesus. Let's see where he is at the start of our journey, and let's work our way through our pilgrimage, our pilgrim's journey, our pilgrim's passport. And let's see where we end up. It's not about the destination. It's not about how fast we get there. But it's the journey. It's the walk. It's the companionship. And it's Jesus walking beside us. At the back of our passport, there is a pilgrim's prayer. which I'm going to challenge you guys every now and again to say. Maybe you say it just after you've had a little bit of time in class to fill this in every week. Or maybe we say it at the start of our week. Maybe we say it at some point every day. We'll leave that up to you and your classes. But I just want to read it to you, and this is how we're going to bring our echo today to a close. It says, Jesus, be for us our friend on our walk, our guide when we're lost, our help when we're tired, our protection when we're scared, our light in the darkness, so that with you by our side, we may arrive safe and sound at the end of our journey, closer to you. Amen. To end our time together today, I put a video together of an encounter I had a couple of weeks ago. I decided to spend the weekend in Buxton because I don't often actually spend time socially in Buxton. I only come here for work. I actually live a long way away. So I booked myself a hotel and decided, I'm going to spend the weekend in Buxton. And I didn't realise that behind St Thomas More and St Anne's here in Buxton, there's a hill. And on top of that hill, there's a cross. And it just felt like a moment of encounter. I went on this walk really randomly. Just thought, that looks like a nice walk, I'll go there. And I found this cross. And just by luck, I happened to be filming some of the parts of it. So have a watch of this video reflection of my encounter as we start to think about where we've encountered God this week. Where have we encountered Jesus in our lives on our journey? I'm Chris, the High Peak Chaplain. God bless.